Hello and welcome to the Door-to-Door YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about keypads. Now you may have already seen our previous video on troubleshooting the LiftMaster, Craftsman, and Chamberlain keypads, but this one's going to go a little bit more in depth on just keypads in general and some of the different manufacturers that you might see that you could have on your garage. If you're looking to either replace or just reprogram or just looking to learn a little bit more about how your keypad works. So with all that said, let's get started. So we primarily here at Door to Door, we focus on mostly LiftMaster. LiftMaster is still the brand that we prefer to use. They're the only professional brand in my mind. There are some other more boutique-y ones that have some cool stuff like Somer and some other ones, but really LiftMaster seems to be universal. Parts are easily available. Most people have had LiftMaster, are familiar with them, so that's still the one that we kind of go to. And with them, the keypads right now, they have two different types of keypads that you really see with them. You have their LM series, which only go for the specific frequency that they're made for. So specifically, say, the 877 LM, it'll have the label on the back so you can see exactly what it is. The 877 LM will work specifically with the yellow button, the 2.0 Security Plus frequencies. They also have the Max, which is going to look exactly the same, but it's a universal, so it'll work for anything from 1993 on up through the LiftMaster, Chamberlain, and Craftsman lines. So if you have an older machine but want to get a new keypad programmed up to it, your current keypad's giving you trouble, you can get the 878 Max, which is the universal that will work, like I said, the new ones as well as the older ones. LiftMaster's program up pretty simply. First, you're going to find the Learn button on the back of the machine. Or maybe it's on the side of the machine, depending on what type of machine you have. There might be a lens cover. It might just have an open circuit board where you can access the Learn button. But in any case, you're going to have to find that Learn button. Like I said, the new ones are going to be a round yellow button, square purple. You might see a square red button. There are still a few of the older green and older yellow and white buttons about, but they're pretty old. Chances are you're not going to see those too often. Usually you see the round yellow, the square purple, or the square red when you're looking at your LiftMaster, Chamberlain, and Craftsman openers. And to reprogram the ones that come with it, just the standard LM, all you need to do is tap that Learn button. And I always say tap it like a doorbell, because if you hold it for more than 6 seconds, it actually erases everything. So you never want to hold that Learn button on the machine. So you just tap that button, you go over to your keypad, put in a 4-digit code that you want, push enter. Assuming you did everything right, the lights flash and blink. Well, it gives a little click sound, lets you know that the programming took. Then try your code and enter a few times to make sure everything's working properly. But that's pretty much it. Now the keypad is reset with a new code, or if you're just trying to reset the existing code, that is how you would set the code on those regular LM keypads that generally come with the opener. The universal is a little bit differently because you got to be able to cycle through the frequencies. Depending on which model you have. So if you need to reprogram, an older LiftMaster, identify what you have. Say you have either a purple or red button. Say it's a purple button. So if you look under the lid, it'll tell you how many enter presses you need for that specific Learn button. So purple's going to be 2 enter presses. So knowing that, so with the LiftMaster, the Max universal keypad, you're going to hold star and pound until the lights stop flashing on the keypad itself. Once you have the solid backlight, you're going to put in the 4-digit code that you want to use on this keypad. Say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after you put that 1, 2, 3, 4, you hit pound, and then you slowly push the enter button for the number of pushes that it says for your specific frequency. So we said we were going to do a purple button. So for the purple button, you would do 1, 2 times. After that second time, you would then hit 0. That would clear it out. It's now ready to be programmed to a purple button machine. Now you would go to that Learn button, give it the quick tap like you would if it was just a regular one, back over to your keypad, put in that 4-digit code one more time, push enter. Now the lights should flash, you should hear the clicking sound, and it should be programmed. And again, use your code and enter to test it. So that's how you would program generally a LiftMaster, or LiftMaster makes Chamberlain and Craftsman. So that's how you would program one of those to a new keypad. LiftMaster does have some older clicker universals that work with other brands, specifically, this 387 LM. This is actually a clicker. This will work on some older dip switches as well as the newer ones. The older ones, this will work on just about everything. So this is a good one if you really have an older one. Chances are, though, if you need this, it's getting to the age where you might be thinking about replacing it rather than spending money on accessories for it. But it's up to you. If you just need the keypad to work, it might be worth it to get an older universal or a universal that works with some of the older ones and use that. And then I also did want to mention LiftMaster now has the video keypad. So this is a keypad that has a camera built in, and you can actually intercom with people at your keypad or at your garage door if you have someone trying to get in or if you're trying to let someone in. The video keypad does work with the new ones as well as, I believe, up to the red button machines. So red, purple, and then the newer yellow button machines, you can get the video keypad. Big thing with the video keypad is it actually does have to be programmed through the MyQ app. So even if you have an older opener that doesn't support the phone app, if you did want to add the video keypad, that does work through the app, and it's going to be very similar to your Ring doorbell. It's got a camera. You'll get set up alerts if there's people in front of your keypad, all that stuff, as well as talk to anybody at the keypad trying to get in and out of your house. And also, like the Ring doorbell, it's you can see live. But if you actually want to store the clips, then there is, I believe, a monthly charge, a couple dollars a month if you did want to actually store the video clips, so you can go back and watch them. But if you just want to be able to intercom and do all that, you can just stick to the standard free one. But again, it does need to be set up through the app, which means you got to set up an email and password with LiftMaster through the MyQ app to get it working. But other than that, once it's all set up, it's going to work very similar to the standard keypad that you have. Now, Genie is the other brand that you're probably going to see a lot of, especially here, because we're here at Door to Door. We're in northern New Jersey, so the Northeast. So you see a lot of LiftMaster and Chamberlain, Craftsman, obviously, just because that's pretty universal. But Genie is another brand we do see a lot of, especially being a Home Depot brand. So a lot of people get these from Depot. So as much as Genie's not maybe one of my favorite openers to work with, we do see a lot of them, so we do need to be familiar with them. So with the Genies work a little bit differently as far as programming in the keypads. A lot of them are going to be the frequency specific to whichever opener you have. Genie doesn't have as many different iterations as LiftMaster, so most of the ones, just the regular Genie keypads you see, will work with most Genies. It's not like you need, it's not like they have had several iterations over the years where you need a universal. I usually do carry the universal Genie just because that I know will work with everything. And the universal Genie keypad that they make, this one right here, it works with a ton of different openers as well as Genies themselves. So this is usually the one I carry on the truck just because I know this one will work for Genie. And this will work for just about every, most of the major opener manufacturers that you will see. Plus, this is easy to get. Genie being a Depot brand, you can just pick these up from Home Depot, or find them online. Like I've said in previous videos, if you are going online for these, just make sure you're getting properly branded keypads and remotes. Don't get the Chinese stuff off Amazon. They generally don't work, and if they do work, they don't work for very long. And plus, LiftMaster, and I'm assuming the other opener brands will follow suit on the new iteration coming out. End of this year, beginning of next year, they're actually going to have it so any of those bootleg or fake remotes and keypads actually won't work at all anymore with the newer openers coming out. So again, if you're going online, make sure you get something that is from the brand specifically. Don't get the Chinese Amazon stuff. Now with the Genie keypads, they're going to work a little bit differently. Genie keypads come pre-programmed from the factory with a code of 357 put in. And now where LiftMaster needs to be 4 digits, Genie, you can be anywhere from 3 to 8. I usually tell customers stick to the 4 digits. That way, if you switch from LiftMaster to Genie, if you're used to using a 4-digit code, no matter which opener, because most of them do require a 4-digit code. So the Genies will come pre-programmed with 357 put in, but most people are going to want to change that. So first, you're going to hit and hold the Learn button. With Genies, it's a little bit different. Genies, you kind of press and hold instead of till the light goes out. Instead of giving a quick tap, you actually got to hold till the light stays on. And once it stays on, then you do have time to do your programming. So then you would go over. You can either hit 357. I usually start with the main code. I'll do 357 and hit up and down until the door moves. Once the door moves, that lets you know that they're all synced up. Now you can change the code to something you prefer. To change the code, you would just hit your code. Instead of hitting up and down, you would hit 3, 5, 7, program, and then your new code, say 1, 2, 3, 4, program. And then that should change the code to your new code. So that's one thing with these Genie keypads, different from the LiftMaster Universals. You do need the old code to set the new code. But a nice thing about that is you don't have to get on the ladder every time to change the code and hit that learn button. You just have to do that first initial setup, which if you're having someone like us install it, you'll never even have to go on the ladder. So that's mainly the main difference. And then the Genie Universals, again, program a little bit differently, especially because they work with so many different manufacturers. So when you're programming the Genie Universals, you do need the instructions generally, and then it's going to have a whole list of different, different codes and things like that depending on the manufacturer. So find your manufacturer, find your series, and then you're going to find that it's got the opener ID code. So find the opener ID code that matches your specific opener, and then you can get started with the programming. So depending on if it's LiftMaster or Genie or whatever you're trying to program this one to, this one works with a whole, like I said, a whole list of them. But using this, you can program to a couple different openers, but again, follow the instructions for your specific opener, just because the learn button and the process might be a little different. And one last little thing with these, if you do need to factory reset it, you can't remember the old code, you just moved in, have no idea, program and the up and down button for a few seconds till everything goes out, and then you're going to be back at that 357 code. So you can hit the learn button, teach it 357, and kind of start over in programming the keypad. So that's pretty much it with Genie. Like I said, Genie's don't see a ton of, so if I'm missing anything or if you're having trouble, feel free to give us a call or shoot some comments down below and I'll try to walk you through it. Because even with Genies, just because I don't see a ton of them, it's every once in a while that I come across them. Every now and then, even I have to kind of jog my memory on exactly how to get these working again. So Genie and LiftMaster, and like I said, LiftMaster comprises of Chamberlain and Craftsman as well, because it's all the same parent company. Those are the two main ones, especially here in the Northeast, that we mostly see. We do see some linears from time to time, but they're not super popular around here. Every once in a while, Marantec is another brand that's popular in some areas, but we don't see that much. And then Somer is another one that starting to get more popular that we actually may try. We'll see, coming. But they're another one that you might start seeing out there that may not be as popular as LiftMaster or Genie. Also, some things you might see are some really old ones that still use the old dip switches. So a lot of openers, before, back in the day, openers didn't come with receivers on them. So they actually have these little piggyback receivers that you would add to it later if you wanted to have a remote. It wasn't something that came standard originally. So if you do have one of those older ones that do have one of these piggyback receivers, this is a multi-code, but you might see a linear delta, or those are probably the two of the ones I mostly see. You could see a whole bunch of other ones. But right in here, if you see in this little hole, is going to be a 10 different little dip switches. And those dip switches pretty much tell you how to open the door. That's the frequency that this one is set to. So the remote will have the same dip switches. And then if you're working with wanted to use a keypad with one of these dip switches ones, this one specifically works for multi-code, or also this 387LM, the clicker, also will work with the dip switch model, most of the dip switch model receivers. So you're going to need one of these if you're trying to get a keypad to one of the older dip switch receivers. Again, if you're using a dip switch receiver, chances are it's a very old machine, may even be pre-photoized. Usually at that point, we more recommend just getting a new modern machine, but you do still have some options available if you wanted to get these working. These work a little bit different because you're going to need to find those dip switch codes. This one usually, and this one you kind of give it a value of 0 or 1 on those dip switches, whether they're turned on or turned off. And then following the instructions, you're going to have to put that code in along with some other things. And both of these, I would say follow the instructions, especially this one. They've changed these several times throughout the years, so depending on which version you have, the instructions could be completely different. And same with this. This is just a tricky one because you actually have to teach. You have to teach that frequency, and then you have to teach the code. So it is pretty involved. So both of these, I still use the instructions every time. And then when I'm done, usually I'll staple the instructions right to the pad inside the garage by the keypad. That way the homeowner or whoever could always try reprogram themselves if they give you trouble, because these older ones, pairing with the new technology, certainly are not as reliable as something brand new. So they more often lose programming, need to be reprogrammed, tend to have more issues when you're trying to get these to work with these very old machines that have the dip switch. So, but you are in luck. You are not out of luck if you do have one of those old dip switch receivers and do want to get a keypad working without having to change the machine. And then also they do have, this has been discontinued. This was from Domino. They're hard to find, but there are still some wired in keypads available. So this one will actually run a hard wire to a receiver box that then goes to the machine and will operate the machine with a wire. This is good if you don't have a receiver. Like I said, some of them, the older ones, didn't come with receivers, or if you have some interference that for whatever reason you can't get a keypad to work, you know, this wired one will eliminate any interference issues, as well as work with the old machines that don't have dip switches. But these are getting harder to find. Like I said, this one Domino we used for years and it's been discontinued. We still have a couple floating around, but we haven't found a suitable replacement. But you can look online, you can look around and see if you can find one. If you have that situation where you actually need a wired in one, they do make them. But that's pretty much just a general overview on keypads. Like I said, if you start having trouble or need something more specific, again, I do have a video specifically on troubleshooting the LiftMaster keypads if it's not working. Or maybe it's just doing something weird. I always say too, if it doesn't take programming the first time, give it try it a couple of times, especially pairing the universals with the older stuff. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 tries to get it going. But assuming you have all the right stuff and the frequencies match, it should go and program up the keypad and work normally for you. Again, this is Alan with Door-to-Door Garage Doors, where we want you to love your garage door. And if you're in the North Jersey area and need help with your garage door, we'd love to help you out. So please give us a call. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.